Hi everyone, I'm Rosie and welcome back to my channel. Whether you'll be out of town for a while, are super busy, or just need a break from baking, at some point you might be wondering, how do I store my starter? I'll be showing you my favorite way of storing starter, by freezing. My method is easy peasy, requires no preparation, and there's no discard at all. I'll also show you my no-fuss way of reviving my starter, and it doesn't get easier than what I'm about to show you. Let's get started. I'm going to take my cold, unfed starter straight from the fridge. You could also use fed room temperature starter after it has doubled in volume. I'm not baking today, so I'm going to transfer all of this to a small freezer-safe container. If I wanted to bake today, I would have reserved a few tablespoons for my dough. I'm freezing about a half cup of starter here, but the exact amount doesn't really matter with my method. You could freeze a bit more or less, and this will still work. I'm just going to pop that into my ridiculously full and disorganized freezer. If your freezer also looks like this, please comment below so I know I'm not alone. Once it's frozen, this is what it looks like. When I want to use my starter again, I just move it from the freezer to the fridge and let it defrost overnight. It's ready to go the next morning, but let me show you how I adjust my baking process. Okay, it's bread time. I'm making my standard sourdough recipe. I'm measuring out 350 grams of bread flour, along with 150 grams of sprouted whole wheat flour for 500 grams of flour total. Regular whole wheat flour in place of the sprouted flour will work just as well. Then I add 2 teaspoons of Himalayan pink salt and about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Here comes 2 heaping tablespoons of my defrosted starter and 1½ cups of room temperature water. I know it probably seems weird that I put the cold defrosted starter directly in my dough. I don't feed it ahead of time, and I don't discard or do anything special. However, I will need a longer fermentation time for the starter to activate in the dough. If you've seen my insanely easy sourdough video, which I'll link below, you'll know my normal process takes about 24 hours from the time the dough is mixed till it's ready for baking. When I'm using my defrosted starter, the total fermentation time is about 50% longer, so almost 36 hours instead. This long fermentation not only helps create those delicious complex flavors, but also helps the gluten develop so that I don't have to spend a lot of time kneading the dough or bothering with complex folds. Once the water is fully mixed in and there's no dry flour left, I'm going to let the dough rest for about 30 to 60 minutes, and I'll come back to smooth out any clumps. It'll be much easier to work with then. In the meantime, I'm going to feed the remainder of my defrosted starter. Since I only use a small amount at a time, I'm going to feed it in the same container I froze it in. I just add a few tablespoons of dark rye flour and a few tablespoons of room temperature water to create a thick pancake batter-like consistency. There's no discard, and I don't even bother weighing. I'm just going to let it ferment at room temperature for about 24 hours. If you want to see how I made this starter from scratch with no discard at all and how I maintain it, I'll link those videos below. Once my dough has rested for 30 to 60 minutes, I'm going to perform some gentle folds to smooth out any clumps and create a nice dough ball. For the rest of the day, I'll repeat the gentle folds about every 2 to 3 hours. The timing doesn't have to be exact. By the evening, I do one last round of folds and let it ferment overnight. All of my fermentation happens at room temperature, which is about 64 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit for me. If your home is colder or warmer than this, your fermentation time might be longer or shorter. The next morning, my starter is bubbly and has perked up nicely. I'm just going to pop that in the fridge and I can bake with it as I normally do. I'm going to line my loaf pan with parchment paper. The dough is nicely aerated and has doubled in volume. I'm going to gather it up and transfer it to the pan. Be sure to pop any large bubbles on the surface, as these can burn easily during baking. I'm going to cover this with a second loaf pan and let it rise for about another 10 hours or until the dough has risen to the top edge of the pan. I'm going to bake my bread at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour total. For about the first 20 to 30 minutes of baking, I bake it with the cover on. This traps in steam to create a nice crackly crust and helps with oven spring. If you don't have a second loaf pan that fits on top, you can create a cover with foil, but make sure it's tall enough so that the bread doesn't touch the top as it rises during baking, or else it might stick to the foil. Then I take the cover off and let it bake for the remainder of the hour. If you're wondering why my oven says 350 degrees here, that's just the default screen when the oven turns off. I let the bread bake at 400 degrees the entire time, and I didn't turn the temperature down to 350 while it was still baking. See how easy it is to freeze and revive your starter? I've kept my starter frozen like this for months at a time without any issues. If you have stored your starter for an extended amount of time, please let me know in the comments what you do. I always enjoy reading your tips and learning from all of you. The next time you need to pause baking with your starter, I hope you give the storage method a try, and I'd love to hear how it goes. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more easy cooking and baking videos, and say hi in the comments. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye!